Well, hello there, good evening. Welcome to another exciting episode of Talking Point here on ABC Sports World. I'm Eugene Oforisoti. Now, every week we present to you the African Combined 11 of the weekend. Well, this week we'll be presenting to you the African Combined 11 of the week. Well, last week we went on a hiatus because of the international break. This week we return to duties presenting to you the best 11 African players plying their trade abroad. In terms of their club football, the most consistent and excellent players of the weekend. Let's start with this week's players. We're going with a 4-3-3 formation. In post, we have Maduka Okoye. Maduka Okoye is one of the goalkeepers for the Super Eagles national team. This season, he's playing for Udinese in the Italian Serie A. He's one of the goalkeepers for Udinese for this season. This weekend, he was in action for Udinese in a 2-1 loss against Inter Milan. It was a close score game. Udinese played very well. Unfortunately, they lost by 2-1. He was a quite important player for the team, making sure that they even though they lost, they reduced the margin. A lot of African goalkeepers were not in action this weekend. The Saudi Arabian League is on break, as well as the other leagues. Andre Onana was not in action. The other goalkeepers playing their trade in Europe as well. The few who played conceded a lot of goals. As a matter of fact, Ivorian goalkeeper Yaya Fofana conceded as many as 3 goals this weekend in the Liga as well. And so he's one of the best goalkeepers in terms of African players playing their trade abroad. Now let's go to the back four. We're having a back four for the first time ever in our African Combined 11 in the week. We've got Aaron Masuaku. If you follow the Premier League for a long time, he's a former West Ham left back. He now plies his trade in the Turkish Super League. He's now with Besiktas. Over the weekend, they staged a 2-1 victory over Galatasaray. Now tonight, Galatasaray is playing against Jiku's Fenerbahce. Now, at first half, Victor Osimhen's Fenerbahce Galatasaray is leading by 2-0. However, over the weekend, Besiktas beat Galatasaray by 2-1, and Masuaku was a very important and pivotal player in that 2-1 victory for Fenerbahce, and so he maintains his place, making sure that Fenerbahce are gone unbeaten this season and ended Galatasaray's unbeaten run. Then, at the centre-back position, we've got 2 Ivorians, Evan Ndika of AS Roma and Ousmane Diomande of Sporting Lisbon in Portugal. Both players play for the Ivorian national team. Ndika making sure Roma did not concede a goal and kept a clean sheet in a 1-0 win over Lecce over the weekend in the Serie A, and then Ousmane Diomande helping Sporting Lisbon to a 3-0 victory in the Portuguese league. And then for the second time running in our African Combined 11 the week, we've got Youssouf Sabaly. He was also important for his club Real Betis in a 2-1 victory over Sevilla in that heated derby in the La Liga. And so we've got a back four, Masuaku from the DR Congo national team and also playing for Besiktas, Ndika, Diomande playing for the Ivorian national team, and then Youssouf Sabaly playing for the Senegalese national team, and then Real Betis in Spain. And then in the midfield, we've got a new entrant, Ghanaian midfielder Lawrence Ejekum. He made his debut in the Black Stars last week in the World Cup qualifiers, making sure he replaced Thomas Partey in that 5-0 win over Chad. He scored a goal and assisted for his club, Cercle Brugge, in the Belgian Pro League over the weekend. And earlier today, he was adjudged as the Cercle Brugge Player of the Month for the month of March. And so it's been a month to remember for Lawrence Ejeku, making sure that he has earned his national team call-up and earned his debut in the Black Stars, and also earned his first ever Player of the Month for his club, Cercle Brugge, in the Belgian Pro League. And then in the holding midfielder position, we've got Abdoulaye Touré. Abdoulaye Touré is a Guinean who plays his trade in France with Le Havre, a teammate of Andre Ayew. He's a defensive midfielder, but he scored 2 goals over the weekend for Le Havre, and so he makes his place. It's quite rare for a defensive midfielder to score and even score 2 goals in a game, and so he makes his place here. Then the usual suspect, Andre Frank Zambo Anguissa. If you followed European football, he's a player who has wandered around a little, formerly Fulham and other teams. He's now with Napoli. He helped Napoli to win 2-1 over AC Milan over the weekend, and so he's in the midfield. Then we've got Ismail Assar. Ismail Assar plays his trade in the English Premier League with Crystal Palace over the weekend. They beat Fulham away from home at the Craven Cottage by 3-0. He scored the second goal to make sure he cushioned Crystal Palace to the semi-finals of the FA Cup as well. And then we've got Victor Boniface, the Nigerian striker, helping his club. Bayer Leverkusen win by 3-1 over the weekend, even though they lost out of the DFB Pokal yesterday, but it was important scoring a goal for his club. And then Omar Mamouche also helping Manchester City beat Bournemouth by 2-1 over the weekend, providing the most important goal, the winner for his club, Manchester City, helping them to progress to the next stage of the competition. And then on the bench, you've got Rami Bensebaini, also helped his club, Borussia Dortmund. Bensebaini is a player for Dortmund. He's also with the Algerian national team, helping his club, Dortmund, to win over the weekend. Then Ola Aina of Nottingham Forest and the Super Eagles of Nigeria also helping his club, Nottingham Forest, to beat Brighton and Hove Albion, also to advance to the next stage of the FA Cup, as well as beating Manchester United also yesterday. Ola Aina is a very important player for both club and country, and so he maintains his place. Another Nigerian is Rafael Onyedika. He's a central midfielder who plays in the Belgian Pro League with Club Brugge. Also helped his club to a 2-0 win over the weekend. And then Amin Adli, a teammate of Victor Boniface, also scored over the weekend for his club. Then we've got Anis Hadj Musa. Anis Hadj Musa plays for Feyenoord in the Dutch Eredivisie. He scored over the weekend. Today as well, tonight, he scored a goal for his club Feyenoord, providing the opener for their Dutch fixture tonight. So he's been on a scoring streak. He plays for the Algerian national team. Then we've got Christian Kwame. Christian Kwame is an Ivorian winger who plays for Empoli. He scored a goal over the weekend as well. And then Kamari Doumbia. If you check the African goal scorers in the World Cup qualifiers, one of the leading players is Kamari Doumbia with 5 goals, Mohamed Salah with 6 goals, Jordan Ayew with 5 goals. A proper goal scorer. He plays for Stade Brestois in the French Ligue 1, which people usually call Brest. Kamari Doumbia plays there. He scored a goal for his club over the weekend. Then Hamari Traore, he's been on a long-term injury. He's returned to his club, Real Sociedad. He's a Malian international, and he has helped his club Sociedad to win. Kamari Doumbia and Hamari Traore are both Malians. They've got Elias Moriba. Elias Moriba is a Guinean, plays for Celta Vigo. Has been a very important player for the club. Make sure they avoided defeat at home over the weekend in Celta Vigo in Spain. And then finally, we've got Tolu Arokodare. He also plays in the Belgian league with Genk. He also scored a goal. He's had about 27 goal contributions in this season. It's earned him a call-up for the Super Eagles national team. In fact, the last 2 games the Super Eagles played, he earned his debut and also earned his place in the team. So first debut call-up, he's earned his debut minutes in the national team. So well, that's our African combined 11 of the season, a 4-3-3 formation with Maduka Okoye in post, Ndika and others. For more context on this conversation, we've been joined by an African football expert and a sports journalist, Michael Sarabodi, joins us all the way from Kumasi. Hello, sir. Good evening. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, hello, good evening, and thanks for having me.
Well, it's good to have you, sir. What do you make of our African combined 11 of the week?
Well, I think it's quite interesting, and just as you rightly mentioned, we are just returned from the international break, and you know that hiccup actually affects the rhythm of performances from most of these players, because there are some where momentum does favor. So if they have to leave their club side to come represent their respective national sides, it kind of affects the trajectory they were on. And so when they come, it is mostly difficult for them to settle in and then fit in the right club, typical club football atmosphere. So it is not always easy to have players performing at the top right after the international break. But I think the selection that you made, players who did justify themselves very well. To talk of Maduka Okoye, Udinese were facing a tough opponent in Inter Milan, and these are games where typically the goalkeeper will be under a lot of pressure to pull in the saves, to try and organize the back line. And you will just look at the goals considered and think, okay, so why do you have to select him? Because he considered 2 goals. But also, you have to examine the overall duration of the game and then come to understand things that really the eyeballs do not really focus on. In terms of defensive organization, communication with the back line, I think that is deserving that he gets in there. And if you check him statistically, I don't think that Maduka Okoye also fared that bad. He was involved in most of the defensive actions, helping to organize his back line. He rushed out of his area successfully in just one instance, and it helped to prevent an instance where Inter Milan could create against them. So I will have to give it to him that he did really do well. Yusuf Sabali, as you rightly mentioned, it was a very difficult game. It was a Seville derby, and for him to just go out there, turn out in a typical Yusuf Sabali fashion, you see, he combines very well with his team's attacking wingers, and he's able to offer himself as an outlet where you have to play him on, and then he has to send in the crosses. And I think it's quite beautiful how he does this consistently, week in, week out. And you have to give it to him. His effort also helped his side to win the game. And I think it is deserving that he's in there. There was also a difficult game in Turkey, Besiktas against Galatasaray. And we know how these Istanbul derbies mostly pan out. Very tense. There are always games that come with a passion flaring. And for Atta Masuaku to be one of the top-rated players in the game for Besiktas, he had a rating, according to SofaScore, of 7.2. And it is quite good for him to be in there. And as you rightly mentioned, he's a player who has garnered experience playing in some of the top leagues like the English Premier League when he did his stint for West Ham. And for him to go to Turkey, do very well with Besiktas, he's actually one of the informed players since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer took charge of the side, and then they are on a resurgence. And one of the players who's contributed positively to this has to do with Atta Masuaku. So I'm also not surprised that, judging by his performance during the weekend, he has been selected in your team. And I kind of like the Ivorian pairing in the team. Ivan Ndika has always been that assured center back that Claudio Ranieri will select to represent him in the AS Roma team. And he's ever present. It is because he brings on board that defensive surety. He's there to offer a more calm head, and he mostly keeps the others like Mancini always on level pegging in terms of how the defense are able to read the game and then react to situations. You have to give it to Ivan Ndika that he consistently churns out such defensive prowess and then attributes. And again, Osman Diomande as well for Sporting CP. So I kind of like the Ivorian pair in terms of a central defense. I think it's quite positive. And I must commend you guys for that. I think you really put through a lot. The thought process in selecting the two, I think it is something that means you deserve commendation for. And then for the midfielders, Lawrence Ejekum, as young as he is, has had a delightful match, and he's just transitioned into April, hoping that he will carry over from where he left it off. His performances before earned him a Black Stars call-up. He came, he made his debut, and I think he took that confidence with him to his club, Cercle Bruges. And it's unfortunate that they weren't able to win. But for Lawrence Ejekum, for everything that he did, I think the crowning moment will be he was able to get a goal as well to help his side. And you have to give it to him. For Abdoulaye Traore, also ever present for Le Havre. The club are not really having a good run, but he's also one of their top performers. And it was really befitting that he had a goal to add to his name. And I think the midfielder I'm not really surprised to see his name there is Frank Zombo Anguissa. Anguissa is someone that Antonio Conte does trust. He loves him. And it's because, you see, he's press resistant. I see Zombo Anguissa play, and I think that if he had started this earlier, maybe his days at Fulham would have turned out differently. But you see, you learn from past experiences, and it helps you to become better. And that's the story of Frank Zombo Anguissa. He was telling in his performances when Napoli won the league, and they are challenging for the Scudetto as well this season. And he's also one of the players that Antonio Conte will trust to bring stability, command, control to his middle. And then he did a solid job in the game against AC Milan when Napoli won. And then in terms of attack, Omar Mamouche helped Manchester City immensely in the FA Cup. He deserves to be there. Victor Boniface, after his injuries, has been on and off. And I love the fact that he was able to overcome that setback with the Nigerian team. He received a lot of backlash, especially that ill-fated draw against Zimbabwe. There were a lot of people who tried to bastardize him, make him look like the guy who was responsible for their inability to beat Zimbabwe. So for him to endure that, slot into the club side, Leverkusen, and then do what he did to help them win over the weekend, you have to give it to him. And then Ismail Assar, I think he's back enjoying his game again. He was in the Premier League with Watford doing very well. They went on relegation, decided to transfer to the French League A with Olympique Marseille. But I think on returning, he is actually bought into the philosophy of Oliver Glasner, sorry. And I think he's also done very well. So I think I will not have to disagree with just one selection that you've made for your team of the weekend. And I think that these are players who are well-deserving to be part of the African Combined 11 due to their performances at club level and it is very positive. I would have loved to see more Ghanaians in there, but hey, we just have to give it to you guys.
Well,
2 Ivorians, 2 Nigerians, two Senegalese. I think you've done well. Kudos to you guys.